So what is up, guys? Nick here, helping you to master your technology, and welcome to my Honor 7X initial review. Now, I've had this phone for about 24 to 48 hours here now, and I know that's not a long time to do a review, hence why I'm calling this an initial review. This is just kind of a little bit of an experience. It doesn't take me long to, absorb what these phones are all about here, and I'm no stranger to these $200, phones from China that are basically, giving you a premium feel for around that price point. Xiaomi Redmi Pro right here is one that I did earlier this year. So this one to me is definitely more in line with a 2017 design though. We do have that 18:9 aspect ratio that was first introduced earlier this year with the G6 and then brought over to the Galaxy S8 Plus with a more curvy design. So the footprint you could see is about the same as what you're going to get on the Galaxy S8 Plus. Granted, the S8 Plus gives you a much better display. You could just see how the Honor 7X is just washing out on the angles there, and that's something to behold with the AMOLED display. So if you want a punchy display, the Honor 7X is not going to be the phone for you. Could see just nowhere near flagship level when it comes to the viewing angles. But we're not here to discuss that. We're here to discuss the Honor 7X. Let's talk about the design, the body, and the build. So right out the gate, you're going to feel like you got a phone that you paid a lot more for that you didn't here with the 7X. The reason I say that is because it gives you an aluminum rear. This feels identical to what you're going to get on a 6S Plus, a 7 Plus with an aluminum back, or even the 6 Plus in the iPhone 6. So if you are looking for that premium aluminum feel, you can hear it. The 7X gives you that. Now, I do want to mention also that I've experienced a really fast fingerprint time with this phone. I mean, it is ridiculous. Now, it's advertised to be 0.25 seconds, and I believe them. It feels like this is like a new standard for fingerprint sensors. I mean, it's super quick. Definitely smoking the Galaxy series this year when it comes to fingerprint speed. It's not even close. So I think this is brought over from the Huawei phones, but extremely fast here to unlock on that fingerprint, and that's nice to see. You can also swipe down to bring down your notifications, and I'm happy to see that because I think it's kind of pointless to have a fingerprint on the back if you can't do this feature right here. So I like that the Honor 7X does do this. I did have to dig around in settings to get that to be enabled. But talking more about the body, definitely has a nice big, volume rocker right here. And also the power button, very tactile buttons. Now, if you're looking up here, you can see that the cameras do have a little bit of a hump. So they are going to stick out a little bit, but luckily enough, you're not going to have to search all over the internet to find yourself a case. Huawei has been nice enough to include in their Honor brand a case in the box. So clear case right out of the box to show off that blue color. Now it is a dotted pattern design, so it doesn't shine right through and show all the blue. It kind of mutes it a little bit, makes it look a little bit darker. Let's go ahead and put the case on and show you what I'm talking about. So anytime you do have, a clear case on there, if it has a dotted pattern like this one does, it does make it look a little bit like a different color, like a little bit darker in my opinion. Sometimes it just looks a little off. So it doesn't look prettier than when it's, naked, ladies. But anyway, it does look good overall. Now at the bottom here, you can see there's also some branding right on the case itself. It does say Honor. So they're really, trying to show off that this is their case on the case. One thing I don't like about this case, it has like these little lines in here to kind of match the antenna bands. I don't think they had to do that. They could have just made the whole case clear and it would have been just fine, because I'm not really a fan of these, lines on the phone. But anyway, that's the body and the build. Headphone jack at the bottom. I don't like the fact this has micro USB, but at $200, I'm not complaining. Over here, we do have a single speaker port, and then on the left side, you don't have anything, no accidental Bixby buttons to press over here. SIM card tray with expandable storage up to 256 gigs. Up at the top, we don't have an IR blaster, so sorry, you're not gonna get that at this price point. Okay, so I wanna talk about display quality really quickly here. First of all, you already seen earlier, it's not really matching up to a flagship level of phone. It reminds me a lot of the iPhone display, however, just not as punchy. So the iPhone display has really good viewing angles, and it's a little punchier than a lot of other LCDs, and it shows when you compare them between, an iPhone Plus series versus this phone, but it's got that same balanced neutral look that an iPhone has. So if you do like the iPhone LCD display and you can live with it not being super contrasty, I think you will like this Honor 7X right here. It's gonna be a nice phone for you. So I wanna discuss software. You can see I installed the Samsung browser right there. I don't really like the Chrome browser whatsoever. I know a lot of people disagree and be like, the Chrome browser is way better than the Samsung browser. I don't really like the Chrome browser browser on mobile. So right here, you can see that we do have EMUI here. This is Android 7.0, 5.1 on the EMUI version. And I'm gonna be honest with you, I kind of actually like this software. Reminds me a lot of the iPhone software, and it's a lot similar to iOS than I think even Samsung phones. Samsung phones aren't really similar to iOS. They're kind of like anti-iPhones. So let me show you what I'm talking about. So let me bring over the iPhone, and you could see just right out the gate, what are you noticing that is similar automatically? You can see it's got that rounded clock design, you know, on the clock. You could see right there, all these apps, except for the ones that you install from the Play Store, the ones that Huawei includes on this Honor phone is going to be that rounded off corner here. And if, you know, Android apps look like that from the Play Store, it just matches even more. Now, if we go into the app tray, you can see all of the apps are not all rounded, but still a lot of them are. Now, some people kind of find this messy, and they were happy that Samsung really rounded off most of their apps in their latest TouchWiz. So I think Huawei could do the same thing, clean this up and make all the apps round off in future updates of EMUI. But if you go into settings, really similar to that of iOS. So no other Android phone has reminded me more of iOS than this Honor 7X this entire year. And it's probably mostly because of settings and mostly because of the way the apps just operate. Also, if you look up at the top, they even tried to look very similar to iOS when it comes to this part up here at the top. Now, yes, the clock is over to the right, but I mean, just look at it. It looks very similar in comparison to some other phones. So at the end of the day, this Android experience right here is enjoyable. It's clean. It's not super messy. It's not cleaner than, I would say, stock, but it's still a nice software. And I think for $200, you're not going to have a problem with it. In that app drawer, you can also swipe up and down along the sides to kind of alphabetically find your applications. Now, there's also so much in settings that I'm not going to, share here. I'll talk about more of the advanced features. There is a lot of them, just put it that way, built into this software. So I'll discuss that in the full review. So you might want to stay subscribed to see that. But if you hold down on the home screen, you could see they did include quite a bit of wallpapers. Let's go into the gallery. Let's go to Magazine Unlocked. They included some nice wallpapers. You can also create an illusion. Now, one thing I didn't like is that when I do set it, it takes quite a while to set this wallpaper. You can see we're still waiting. We're still waiting. We're still waiting again. And seriously, it needs to be a little bit faster to set wallpaper. So that's one little gripe I do have with it. Now, speaking of that, that's kind of covering performance here. So let's get on with the performance. Now, this is the US model. So this comes with 3 gigs of RAM. Depending on your market, you will get 4 GBs of RAM with the Honor 7X. The US just happens to be one, giving you 3 gigs of RAM, and it shows. An Android phone needs 4 or more, I think, gigs of RAM in 2017 to really run super quick. So for those of you saying this is a OnePlus competitor, the OnePlus is smoking this phone when it comes to performance. Now, it's not a slow phone. It operates pretty fast, and Honor kind of went ahead and tweaked the developer options behind your back and put it on 0.5 out the box. I put on 1x, 1x, 1x because I wanted to see the flying animation. So if you didn't know that, go to your About section, go to your build number, repeatedly tap on it, go to developer options, and re-enable your transitions to 1x if you do want to see your animations, because out of the box, it's at 0.5. And I think they did that to make this phone feel faster than it really is. Now, it's no slow phone to be sure. 3 gigs of RAM is not horrible. Galaxy Note 3 had 3 gigs of RAM, and it opens up stuff pretty quickly, I think respectably. It's not going to give anybody an issue, but for some reason, from time to time, it didn't feel as smooth and visually pleasing as some of the flagship phones, and I wouldn't expect it to, but it's not the fastest phone on the block. It is solid performance, and for $200, I don't think anybody's gonna have a problem with it, but it's not blazing fast. Let's talk about those cameras. 16 megapixel plus 2 megapixel camera on the rear. Now, I'm not going to cover this too in depth here, but what I can tell you is to go check out my Instagram page where I posted some comparison photos with the Honor 7X. I've been extremely pleased with this camera. It can produce some very sharp images, and you don't really see this kind of quality on $200 phones. I mean, this is ridiculous. I even put this next to a Note 8, and it actually held its own against a Galaxy Note 8. I was pretty surprised. Great level of detail here. Now, the photos tend to err on the more natural side. So if you do like a more natural photo and you don't care for, you care for saturated photos, you might not like this. But if you do not care for the saturation, you want a more natural look, you're really going to like what this phone has to offer. Now, it does fall apart a little bit in the low light scenarios. All smartphones do. They have noise and low light. That includes $1,000 iPhone 10. But at the end of the day, I think most people will like this. Now, I do really love the software. It's super easy to use and it's very clean. You just swipe over to the left and here's all these modes you're presented with: Pro Photo, Video, HDR. Now, one thing I don't like is when we go to video, you can only shoot up to full HD at 1080p. Also gives you stereo sound, which I also don't like because I want mono sound, because most people using their phone to record stuff might want to be talking to the camera. Now, if you are recording family and stuff and you want to pick up all the sounds around it, you're going to like this, how it picks up audio. But it does have object tracking, which tries to lock focus and find the object and just track it wherever it goes. But no options to change how you shoot that video in 1080. No 30 FPS, no 24, no 60, not even 4K. So the Moto G5 Plus with its 4K option might have a leg up over this phone if you care about video. However, like I say, the camera itself for stills is pretty impressive for this price point. And I think that if you're looking for a great camera at this price point, you can't go wrong with the Honor 7X. You're going to like it. And even the portrait mode, if you get it right, it's not 100% accurate, but if you do get it right, it does work pretty well with that 2 megapixel secondary shooter. But I wouldn't rely on it for like some professional grade pictures. It's not going to happen. So what about audio with this phone? Well, it's not low. It doesn't, sound tinny or nothing like that. It's just not super loud. And again, when you don't have speakers at the top and the bottom or both firing from the front, you're going to get a phone that doesn't just doesn't sound amazing. It'll sound okay. It'll sound like a phone, but it's not going to blow your mind or anything like that. So let's go ahead and watch my latest video here and we're going to see what happens. So easy to hear. So you can see it's plenty loud enough. It's not the loudest I've ever heard, but it's plenty loud enough and it's not super tinny. It sounds okay, but it still, again, sounds like a phone. And if we are listening to that video or watching that video, that's how easy it is to cover. Now, this is not a problem because, again, remember, $200 for this phone. If you were paying $500, $600, $700, $800, $1,000, I would demand a dual speaker setup on my phone, but $200, no problem. Now, I haven't tested gaming, but what I have tested is call quality, and call quality with that pretty loud speaker is pretty solid. Also, just, hearing other people talk on the other side, I haven't had no issues at all so far with this phone. Signal strength seems to be pretty solid, so not a problem when it comes to the call quality. So don't worry about this phone when it comes to that. It didn't do better than the Moto G5 Plus though. So I want you to keep that in mind. If you're looking for a better phone call experience, pick up the G5 or the G5S Plus, or even wait till a little bit later this year when the next version of that phone comes out. So that's it. That's my initial review of the Honor 7X. Overwhelmingly positive, phone so far in my experience. I mean, I really like the EMUI software. I think it's different from Samsung and LG, and it's different from, stock Google. It's just got a different feel to it, and it feels kind of like iOS. I do like the software overall, and I think you guys will too. The camera software is also very clean, very easy to use, and offers all these modes very easy to understand. Also, you do have the community, application. I think I removed it, but you do have the store support from Huawei themselves and Honor. So this phone gives you a lot for $200 and it feels like $1 million. My biggest disappointments so far with this device have been micro USB charging, very slow. Also, the screen washes out too much on the angles, and it's nothing to be, blown away by. The screen will work. It's a solid screen, but it's not impressive. It's not got the wow factor that OLED screens have, that even the best LCDs on most of the iPhones have. So the screen is just average in my opinion. But other than that, there hasn't been too many other issues. I would have liked 4 gigs of RAM in all models, including the US. It's slightly choppy. Sometimes it gets a little bit slow. It's not the fastest I've seen, but really, at $200, this is going to be a hard phone to beat in 2018. And that's my initial review. I will give you a full in-depth review with specifications, with more software stuff, and just talking more about the phone, technically speaking. But anyway, until then, thank you for watching. And if you found this video helpful, enjoyable, do me a favor, click the like button for me. And if you're new here, consider subscribing for more videos like this. We got plenty of content coming in 2018. And I'd love to have you over here. Nick here, helping you to master your technology. Be sure to be well. I will catch you all in the next episode, and peace.